All right, now that we have our third and final coat of epoxy primer over the seam sealer, that has had 24 hours to dry as well. We need to do a little bit of masking, and then we're going to add a Raptor Liner to the underside of the inner fender wells. On both sides, we're going to do a little bit of Raptor, probably overspray texture, just in the initial part of the trans tunnel, and then a little bit on the inside of the beginning frame rail up to our tension control rod support. Outside of that, everything on the inside is going to get jet black base coat, and then a couple coats of clear on top of that, and everything outside of here is just going to get the Raptor Liner, and everything we don't get with the Raptor Liner is going to get the base clear combination as well. So let's get busy masking and take care of all that. Now that all the masking is complete, we are ready to spray the Raptor Liner. We're going to give it a little quick spray and tack cloth to get any kind of dust or contaminants off the surface, and then we're going to spray one very thick, heavy coat of Raptor Liner. We give that 60 minutes to dry, and then we come back in and do a second coat. We give that another 60 minutes to dry, and then we're going to come back in and do a texture coat on top of that. So 3 coats in total. Alright, well, the Raptor Liner is on, it's done, it's dry. I put 2 coats on, giving 60 minutes in between each coat, and then a texture coat as a third and final coat, and that was 90 minutes between the second coat and the texture coat. I gave that 24 hours to dry, so it's plenty cured enough, and we're going to go ahead and mask all of the Raptor Liner up on this so we can get ready to spray the base coat, clear coat for the engine bay, frame rails, and everything else on the engine bay restoration. So let's go ahead and mask all that stuff up and get busy mixing some base coat. Base coat is on. I actually did 3 coats of base coat. The first coat I hit with the detail gun, the little purple Harbor Freight gun. It went great actually until the gun stopped working, so I switched to the Technopro Light. I wasn't going to use that for base coat. I was only going to use that for the clear coat tomorrow. But as luck would have it, your equipment stops working and you gotta do what you gotta do to get the job done, and that's what it's all about, was getting the job done. So I put the first coat of base coat on all the little intricate brackets and weird angles, and got into as many crevices as I could angle the tip of the gun in, and then did a first coat after all of those weird angles were sprayed. We did all of that with the Harbor Freight little cheap detail gun. It's only a 1.0 tip, shooting at about 25 psi. The base coat itself was mixed with the 885 slow urethane reducer at a 1-to-1 ratio. So I put 12 ounces of base coat. So once I got 12 ounces of this in a cup and 12 ounces of this in a cup, the technical data sheet calls for activation with any clear coat activator. So I have slow and very slow. I decided to use the slow because I have more slow than very slow, and this, I typically try to keep everything, all the amounts of materials I have for that particular product. So I've got enough clear coat activator for the clear coat, but I actually have extra slow clear coat activator, so I decided to use that. And you're supposed to mix 1 ounce per 32 ounce of mixed material. So had we had 16 ounces of base with 16 ounces of reducer, I would have added an additional 1 ounce of clear coat activator to that. Since we only had 24 ounces in total, I added about 3/4 of an ounce of the activator, and that's just to help flash time and actually activate the product. So mixed all that up together. I did one 25 ounce material mix and sprayed a coat with the detail gun with a 1.0 tip at about 25 psi at the gun inlet pressure. Choked down the fan a little bit to get on all these intricate details and weird spots, that way we're not overspraying over everything else. And then that gun stopped working, so I switched to the Technopro Light. Now, because this is an engine bay, typically what I would do is spray. Typically when I'm spraying a panel with the Pro Light, I'm full fluid, so that's the fluid needle all the way out, so I get as much material coming out of the gun as I can, and I'm shooting around 25 psi or 1.8 bar for you guys over across the pond. For the engine bay, you got to choke that down a little bit, or your material consumption will be through the roof, like 4 to 5 times as high as what it should be. Engine bay should take a little bit less than 32 ounces per coat. So I mixed up 25-ounce batches, and that actually got us through. I only mixed up 2, and that got us through 3 coats. So the material consumption can be controlled. And what I did on the Techno Pro Lite was I wound the needle all the way in, and then came out about 2 to 2.5 turns. So I choked the material down on the fluid needle, and I'm shooting with a 1.3 tip in the TE20 air cap. The pressure at the gun was only 18 to 19 psi, and in the fan control, you went all the way open, so the fan as wide as it can get, and then I choked it down about a half a turn back in. That got me to kind of reduce that overspray margin, especially in an engine bay where everything's at a weird angle and you're constantly changing. You don't want that fan super wide, or you're going to get overspray on everything else you just painted, and it's really hard to keep up with that, and then you'll get splotchy areas and what looks like dry spots that you missed when you actually didn't. That's just dry paint landing on something that's already been painted. So I hope that's enough technical specs for you. If you like that stuff, click thumbs up. If you got any questions about any of that stuff, leave a comment below. I'll try to answer it if I can remember when this video is uploaded. So first coat was just with the detail gun. We got everything coated pretty good with the detail gun. 1.0 tip at 25 psi coming out of that one. That gun, you open everything all the way up, except for the fan, because it will leave the center of the fan dry. So you actually got to choke that fan down. Even on that little bitty gun, choke the fan down a little bit, because the fluid tip's so small and you're running 25 psi. So after all that was completed, I gave 60 minutes between the first coat. That's 60 minutes between the first coat and the second coat. A lot of what people screw up when they're spraying base coat, especially with southern polyurethane stuff, is they don't give enough time. I'm not a production shop. I don't care about how quick I can get something done. I want it to, as probably like you're working in your garage, your own home shop, you're trying to save money by painting your own stuff, and you're trying to learn along the way. The best thing you can do for base coat application, if you're going to do a base coat, clear coat, 2-stage type material, is let that base coat dry. Just give it some time. You know, you're going to flash off in about 15 to 20, 25 minutes. You could slap another coat down, give that 30 minutes, and you can go ahead and clear over it. If you're working in an insurance shop or collision repair shop, that is absolutely fine. The name of the game in that environment is get it in, get it done, get it out the door, bill the customer. I'm not really doing that kind of stuff here, so I want to maximize the ability for this product to shine through the ability for me to manipulate what I can control. So that's taking the time to make a little paint room, providing adequate filtered air, providing plenty of exhaust. That's one thing. You can wet the floors down and all that, all those little techniques and everything. I'm not really finding it necessary right now. I may do that when it comes to painting the whole car, but you know, the best thing I found to do for base coat, especially with southern polyurethanes, is 60 minutes. They recommend in the technical data sheet minimum of 45 minutes between base coat applications. So if you're going to put one coat down, they want 45 minutes in between. If you have lighter pigments, blues or reds or orange or whites, you can kind of shrink that time down a little bit, but obviously this is black, so I gave it at least 45 minutes. The first coat between the second coat, I gave 60 minutes. The second coat between the third coat, I gave 90 minutes. I want as much time in between those coats as I can, and I could wait another 60 to 90 minutes and come in here and slap clear on it, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for this thing to dry up overnight with the base coat application done. We're gonna give this thing plenty of time to cure, get all those solvents out of there, that way we don't trap any solvents when we go to start layering all this clear coat on tomorrow. Right now it's 6 in the afternoon. I'm not coming out here at 6 o'clock in the morning, so this is gonna get probably around 14 to 15 hours to dry and cure for the 3 base coats that we put down today. And then tomorrow we're gonna come in and put at least 3 clear coats on top of that. So hope that helps. All right guys, if you like this stuff, if you found it helpful at all in any way possible, click that thumbs up button. That's the best thing you can do to help me, the channel, and this video help other people. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and then I'll get around to answering it just as soon as I can. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing. And if you're gonna subscribe, go ahead and slide on over and click that notification bell. That way you get notified just as soon as I get around to posting another video. I appreciate it as always, and until next time, thanks for watching this video.